as people, we have many needs. We have, if we to draw up the list of needs that we have as people, the list is going to be pretty strong, pretty long. But not all needs are ranked equally. Not all needs that we have are of equal importance, right? We have a need. We have many needs, but just to start from the bottom, if we were to talk about the needs that we have that are the most basic and important, number 1 is going to be water. Number 2 is going to be food. Number 3 is going to be shelter. Right? Without water, no one's surviving very long at all. We can survive, a while, relatively speaking, with water, even without food. If we have water and food, we might be able to last a while even without shelter, depending on the environment and what sort of predators are around. But water, food, and shelter, and we've got our most basic needs pretty much covered. Now, that doesn't mean that that's all we need to live a healthy, vibrant, fulfilled life. There are a lot more needs that we have, right? And as we go through our needs, we can rank them in the most basic and the more basic they are, the more necessary they are. And as we cover our most basic needs, then there'll be another set of needs that we have that are also needs, but they're not as basic and as crucial. And if someone doesn't have food or water and they're busy worrying about these other needs, then they need to get their priorities straightened out, right? Because there is a ranking and an order for how important our needs are. And there's a need that I would say comes pretty close behind food and water and shelter, and it's definitely behind. It's definitely in a separate category that's less crucial for basic survival than water and food and shelter, but it's pretty deep and pretty important, and that is connection. Especially many animals have a need for connection, but as humans especially, we are designed both at the level of the body and at the level of the soul. And it works together. Generally, this is the way it works because our bodies and souls are created and designed to be in partnership. A person is a body and a soul. A body without a soul isn't a person, and a soul without a body isn't a person. A person, human body plus matching human soul equals human being. So, and our souls and bodies are a team. They work together and they're designed to work together. And they're very different, but they have an equivalent sort of structure, an equivalent set of needs. And so our bodies are designed biologically to need connection, and our souls are designed to need connection. And again, connection definitely comes behind water and food and shelter. But I'd say that it's probably pretty close behind. Human beings we need connection to be healthy. We need connection to have a proper state of well-being. And it seems much less of a need because it's much less tangible, right? Water is a liquid and it needs to go in our bodies for our bodies not to get dehydrated and die. That's very tangible. Food is a similar thing. Food is physical. You can see it, you can feel it. We need to eat it. If we don't eat it, we have a problem. Shelter is very tangible. Connection is much less tangible. So it doesn't seem like it's so important, but it is. And the truth is that, if we look at the flip side of things, right? So we need water. Why do we need water? Because the human body needs water to be hydrated. What happens if someone's missing water? If we're missing water, God forbid if someone doesn't have water for an extended period of time, they become dehydrated and eventually they won't be alive anymore. The same thing is with food. They won't become dehydrated, but they'll become malnourished, and the time that they can survive is significantly longer than without water, but eventually they'll become malnourished enough, and if they continue not to eat, eventually they won't be alive anymore. So the outcome of a lack of water is very tangible. The outcome of a lack of food is very tangible, because water and food are tangible, and the outcome is tangible. Shelter is very tangible. The outcome of a lack of shelter is also very tangible. If a person's out in the snow and they don't have shelter, they're not going to be alive for that long because it's going to be too cold for their body to handle. If a person's in the heat without shelter in extreme heat, the same thing will happen in the reverse. If a person lives in proximity to predators and animals that could kill them and eat them, without shelter, they're not going to last that long. So shelter, again, it's tangible, and the negative outcomes of not having that need fulfilled are tangible. A need that we have that's tangible is generally going to have a relatively tangible cost if we don't have it. Dehydration, starvation, being eaten, etc. They're pretty tangible. The need, because connection is a much less tangible need than water and food and shelter, the cost of lacking connection, the cost of missing connection, is also much less tangible. But less tangible doesn't mean not important. Right? What's the cost generally? The cost of not having connection. And connection is a general term, and there are a number of different forms of connection. And, if there's a complete lack of connection, any of them being introduced to a significant degree will make a big difference. But the lack of a connection, if we don't feel connection, either to a person that we feel connected to and we have a relationship to, with something bigger than ourselves, with a purpose, with God, with a creator, if we don't have any connection with any of these things, we become very emotionally and mentally unwell quite quickly. If a person doesn't have a sense of connection to any of these things, yes, connection's less tangible, so yes, the outcome is less tangible. It's not dehydration, it's not starvation, it's not being eaten by an animal. It's internal, it's less tangible, but it's very real. Being in a state of, or not being in a state of wellness, being unwell, mentally, emotionally, is a very, very difficult thing for someone to bear. And it's a threat to a person's safety, honestly, right? To be unwell internally. And to not have any sort of connection is almost invariably going to lead to a state of being quite unwell internally. It might take time, right? So it could be that it escalates over time. It's not, the time it takes for a catastrophic outcome of not having water is probably days. It's not that long.